Hello and welcome to Ramuism. We are speaking today with filmmaker Ram Gopal Varma on God, the power of God and the influence of God on society and people. Mr. Ram Gopal Varma, thank you for joining us once again. Define God. What is God to you?
See, I would like to say when I've been hearing this question. Ever since I was a kid or a teenager or whatever. Like when someone asked me, "Do you believe in God?" My counter question always to them was, "What do you mean by God?" So, to say that I believe in God or what I think God is, first I need to know what you think is God. I mean, and this question probably no one ever answered me satisfactorily, because people have a tendency to just to follow something like what their parents said, what they heard, without really consciously understanding what they mean by it. See, if God is defined as the ultimate force which was actually responsible for creating every emotional, physical and intellectual activity, whatever happens in the entire universe, if that is what in case being created by a single force and we want to call it God, I am fine, because there has to be some reason why everything is happening, fair enough, but I am not very sure that can be connected to what most of us people think of God is about. In the sense, someone goes to Vaishno Devi, someone goes to Balaji, someone prays to Ganpati, and
True.
so then the question arises, whereas so did Balaji create the universe, Mars, Venus and the solar system and galaxies? Did he do that? And in which case how is it that Jesus seems to be more popular in the world? So then did Jesus create? So if Jesus created the entire universe, then why are we praying to Balaji? So I think the point is not that I am aware of it, I am saying people just do not consciously think about that. So the bottom line is whether one is there is God or not. If he exists, what does he do? More important for a on a personal level, on as a human, I mean as part of being a human species, what is a necessity to believe in God? So like one great philosopher said, if there was no God, it was necessary to invent him, because you need him as a regulatory, as a
Force.
disciplinary force, rather than actually the truth of whether he exists or not, you know. So the coming back to your question, if you ask me what is God to me, anything which is above me, which has more force than me, which can make things happen for me. I'm living my life and I have desires, I have ambitions, I have something what I desperately want. If any force which can give me that, or any force which can make that possible for me, that I would call it God in a sense of the word.
So, in another word, in another sense, you all your filmmaker producers, are they all God to you because they've made your dreams happen for you?
I mean, yeah, that is just a very small way of putting it. I mean, even the audience are God. Even a person who gives me an idea, a music director which gives me a song which really so excites me, like any contribution to me on my sensory or my physical or intellectual level, on various levels are God's. Yeah.
So, do you have a classification as to who is a bigger God, and
Yeah,
how do you
the
relate with
one who
God?
gives more. See, it's like this. If, for example, okay, let me try to put it across. Like if I'm working under someone, and
Right.
that person who I'm working under has a power to stop me, or power to withdraw, power to make my life miserable or to make it happier, and there could be someone else above him who is more powerful than him, and then someone else above him. So the power is again relative, it cannot be absolute in one place, right? And then on top of that, your own personal ego, your own want to become bigger than who is bigger than you, that will and that ego is also, which means you are a god unto oneself, yourself, because you are thinking in your head that you actually can be better than the person who is actually giving you that.
And in
Yeah,
some cases it works also.
it
I mean,
works.
it can
I
be
mean,
that you
all the people who become visionaries and who become the best in their fields, I think they almost have to think they're gods
but
in the
initially
relative
when they
sense.
start off, somebody would have given them a platform. So, at that point, those
Yeah,
people would have been God to them.
yeah,
But
but it's
they can rise
absolutely
above.
not necessary. My point is, like, when I mean that comes under a small heading of gratitude. I mean, like I can say Like for example, let us say someone gave me a break, like a lot of times as a filmmaker I am asked that I give a break. I do not give a break to anyone, I am using that person for a certain purpose of mine, and out of which by default he could benefit. So the contrary, I mean at the same time that guy can think, either he can think that I am so lucky Ramu gave me a break, or he can think that Ramu is so lucky he got me, you know. So I think that is the difference. So a lot of people I know whose ego, in a good way I am saying, not in a bad way, whose ego is so much that they want to conquer the world, they want to become the best in their field.
True.
Yeah, so I think that is what it is about. Yeah.
So that negates what you said earlier, because you said that anybody who influences you or gives you some kind of a benefit physically,
Yeah,
materially,
correct.
emotionally. So if it is a give and take, they could very well be using your talent.
Yeah, but see, but the point is not about what their intention is. The fact that I have gotten it from them itself is enough for me. Whether that man intended to give it to me, for example, if you see God gave life, he created so many things, for example
As an expression of himself.
as an expression of himself, for what reason he has done it I would not
True.
be knowing.
Got it.
And for me to think that he has done it for me, suppose as a human being, if I think God has created this whole world for my sake, then my question is, then why did he create mosquitoes? Why did he create the virus which causes cold? Why did he create cancer? Why did he create so many miseries? That itself proves that God did not create the whole existence for the sake of human beings per se. He created the world, and in that relatively who eats what and who is stronger than what, and the complexities of that comes from within that. Okay. So the point is, one is someone created, and for what purpose it created. Did he consciously wanted one species to have a better lifestyle, or is it because of something else? Those are the vagueness of the whole concept of God.
So you think it's vague, or it's unanswered or unexplored?
See, because the point is God has been created by man. See, like I say, when we are first in the opening of the discussion, I said if there is a force which caused the entire thing from the solar system to the universe to the earth, planet earth, there is a force. But is that the force we are praying to? No, we are praying to a specific, I mean a kind of a
Form.
system which we have designed. Ganpati is a system we design, Balaji is we design, Jesus is what we design. Okay. And I would like to believe the purpose of that, you see, when human beings are moving in groups, in tribes, and in prehistoric times, like as the groups get bigger and bigger, obviously men will have their own thing, that there will be more stronger men, they will keep infighting among themselves, and they will start splintering into groups because of that. Okay. So they needed a force to keep them in
True.
unison. So a human being as a force is not enough for that. So you need to create a certain more divine, where if you do this God will strike you. God asked him, God asked me to do this, God told him to do that. So there is an unknown force. So an unknown force which is working on your imagination. So the power of that person's mind to sway the rest of the people is where the aspect of God came. So in a normal society, if you say that if you do this crime, the law will punish you. The law, you still feel that you can somehow bend it, you can somehow escape from it, you can somehow manipulate it, or you can use your power to somehow get away, whatever it is. But then you say, if you whatever you do, God will be there to punish you. So then the God, I do not know who it is somewhere sitting up there. So the fear of me not doing something which I think I can normally escape, I can't escape from there, is a fear actually where it comes from.
So that is where
And
God
if
rules.
someone has the power to give you pain and give you death or punish you, obviously you will have on the you will also simultaneously have the power to give you much more, you know. So the point is, what is the incentive when they give, when you do very nice things, you do only behave in a very good way, you will go to heaven. Okay. Now heaven, what is heaven? What will I get in heaven is my next question. Okay. As you have Ramba, Urvashi, Menaka goddesses, and you will have Amrutam, Amrut. Now obviously as a human being, the two things which give the most pleasure is alcohol and women. Okay. Now you can't think of a better incentive than that, because that is something, you know. Suppose if I say, if you go to heaven you will get
Fried.
Shamya, something, some name. Now you do not know what it is. Okay. So, if you can't relate to what already you had the pleasure of tasting, it cannot have you cannot be an incentive. Okay. So, the point is, one is you will go to God, you will go to heaven. What will you get in heaven? You will get this. So, Amritam can't be fruit juice, technically speaking, I am sure it is not. So, it has to be some kind of the greatest exotic brand of vodka or something, or the women have to be as beautiful if not more than Aishwarya and Katrina Kaif or somebody, you know, that is a benchmark for a beauty what we have in our world.
In our world.
Yeah. So, I am saying that, but why is that happening is because you are being given a bait, you behave like this, you will get it there. If you do not behave in a manner, even if you escape the law, God is going to punish you, he will take you to hell, he will boil you in oil, he will whip you and this. So, all that technically becomes another quote.
So,
Yeah.
obviously that is not working somewhat, right, because you think the level of God fearingness has gone down.
Yeah, I think that that goes down because you have seen, you see, as man's intelligence keeps growing and he starts questioning everything happening. See, for example, let us say like a person who is really into God, I asked him this question. Okay, every day you wake up in the morning, you see so many things happening, you see scams, you see scandals, you see violence, you see terrible accidents, you know, all these are bad things, and we say that we condemn people, we condemn governments, we condemn individuals for such bad things happening, but all of them have been created by God. And if God is on their side, so why are you not blaming God in a sense? So, if suppose like let us say I mean recently an accident happened in Hyderabad and a bus having some 4-year-old, 3-year-old children, some 20 of them were killed in a crash. Okay. Now, the question is, like, you did some sins, because of that were you killed, because you are escaping law, you have something in your mind which the normal society and the law, that does God punish you because of that? Or, and apart from the people who are dead, the kind of a misery and the trauma which is created by to the parents, to all various concern, that
They
is
are the
one
ones
part.
who are actually getting
That
punished.
is one part, you know. And okay, now I know this argument what they have this on the karma theory. So, what is supposed to happen is, when a person today in this birth you feel that he is having a great time, but actually is a bastard, he is a bad man, suppose that is the whole idea. Okay, then how come he is having such a good time if he is doing all this what we are thinking he is doing? Then they say no, the karma theory actually punishes you in the next birth, or it gives you better life in the next birth for what you have done. Now, coming to the punishment, my question is, if a guy does something and you immediately want to punish him, okay, and so if suppose a kid does something now and instead of punishing him now, after 20 years if I slap him, I will be called stupid, because common sense tells you that that guy needs to be told immediately, this is what you have done is wrong, this is what your punishment is. And now in karma theory says, I do not even know what I was in my previous birth, I do not even know what I have done, and I
So,
am
you
being
can't
punished
relate it.
now. What is that nonsense? Okay. So, now coming back to this, now in 2004 a tsunami came and 2.5 lakh people died in that, like women, children of all races, all religion, all everybody died, and tsunami is technically an act of God by legal definition, it has not been created by man or anything. Now, what is a random movement of the one catastrophic tragic event which killed 2.5 lakh people, and no one ever questions God? But imagine the same thing done by a government, 10 people die, they are going to scream their throats out
In
about
fact,
the
you had
injustice and
tweeted
everything.
on this,
Yeah.
that if a terrorist comes and shoots 100 people down,
Yeah.
he is a terrorist, but when 2.5 lakh people die in one go.
Actually, what I tweeted was, only terrorists and God kill people indiscriminately, that is what I said actually in the tweet, because they are unifying the act of violence irrespective of who they are targeting, and they are not getting into the personal individual aspects of it. They are creating an event to shock for whatever cause they believe in at that time. God's cause I will not be knowing, terrorists probably relatively would be knowing. And so the point, whenever I am tweeting, when they say maybe it comes in a random moment on one tweet, I do not know how much people will get, but that is coming from a deep understanding what I have been thinking for ever since I was conscious about God. Like even the whole furor which happened when I put some tweets on Ganpati, my intention there was, see, if you are taking the tales associated, the stories behind gods as like a you are wanting to believe that that is how it happened, you have to learn, there is a moral and there is a obligation for you to understand, to respect them and to worship them and all that. In which kind of a case I think it is very important for you to understand what it is. So, what was my question? One of my tweets said, if I do not see difference between a terrorist and beheading and Lord Shiva beheading his own son because he was protecting his mother's modesty. That was him, why he was there.
In fact,
Okay.
you went one step further and said even a terrorist, a Taliban would not behead his own son.
I did not say that, my exact word was this. Okay. So, the basic point here is, if God is supposed to know everything, would not he know his own son? And let us for 1 second assume he does not know the son. And how can you kill a kid?
Even if it is not his
and
own
even
son.
if it is not his own son, and the kid could not have attacked him, that Lord Shiva had retaliated in self defense. Okay. It is just his ego that he was stopped here, he took off his sword and cut his this kid's head off. And then after that, when he knew about it, he killed an elephant which was going there and he cut the elephant's head and he put it on his son's head. Now, why
If he
can't he
had
put
that
his
power,
own son's head?
son's head.
But my point is, I am not trying to be argumentative, it is a question I am asking, okay, because Lord Ganpati is supposed to be a symbol of worship. We are just losing everything and we are praying, and I think associated with that, whatever tale is, there has to be a certain responsibility and a certain understanding. If there is a story, I would like to know, because I find it on a prima facie, yes, no one could answer.
Have you tried asking some
See when people tell me there actually a reason behind why I did that, but why is the reason not public? Why is the reason not being told to everyone, or why should only a few scholars know? So, my point is not about Lord Ganpati, my point is also not about what is done. My main point is that no one asked that question. Okay, I will give one more example. Vivek Oberoi, when I was just going to start company, he said he went to some temple, I think Ayyappa temple in Kerala or somewhere, and he gave me some prasad. After meeting over, I said, do you take that back with you, Vivek? I said, and he said, why? I said, no, I say, I do not believe in God, no, and that kind of a thing does not interest me as food material. So, you rather give it to someone who will value it. You know, on that a discussion happened. I also do not actually go there because what is written there on the temple or something. He was telling me some details of that. I said, you mean to say you have to go all the way to Ayyappa temple to know that, to what is written there? You know, if you are standing by something, you have to be. Now, if I am coming across as a guy who is demeaning a god, because I said that about your valued prasad which you carried all the way from wherever you got it, and I am asking you to take it back with you, which I would like to believe, if I was in your shoes, I would feel it as an insult, okay, insult to your God, the one you believe in. At the same time, my point, the fact that I am doing a film called Company with you, Swami Ayyappa is not doing company, okay, because of that you are okay to take that as insult. That is my problem with the devotees, you know. Now, I am saying, who am I compared to Ayyappa? I am a nobody, I mean not even I mean whatever it is, okay. But the point is, me not believing in God, I believe I understand God, I studied God much more than the so called people who stand in line to break coconuts. I understand the origin, I understand the effect, I understand the necessity of it, but I can't bear to see the stupidity of people in, and where they are not even able to answer the question on the belief that they seem to have.
Have you given scope to the possibility that a lot of people live just in the emotional realm?
Yeah.
You live in the intellectual realm.
Of course, I mean that
they
is
don't
not
have
the
a
point.
need to question and
See,
understand
that is not the point. I am not saying they are not obligated to understand or listen to me or anything. They are of course their own selves, and they can do whatever. In the same way, I can question it. I am not demanding an answer. I am just wondering. I am just expressing my thoughts. Did I demand an answer? No. I am just wondering. As a free individual in a free society, I have every right to wonder about a certain thing which occurred to me. After that, whether someone takes it or does not take it,
It's
it is
up to
their
them.
cause. They are free to worship, and I am free to just wonder about what they are worshipping about.
So, do you have a problem with the interpretation of God in a religious context in the way we've given different forms, or do you have a problem with the concept of God and you just don't relate with this at all?
The point. See, first of all, I don't think the word problem is right. I have a problem. I don't have a problem with anything. My whole point is, see, what is the whole evolution of any human being or any society or anything for that matter? It's about constantly questioning what we otherwise are made to take for granted. Okay, like for example, what is the development of like what we started this discussion with? Now it is going down. What is going down? What is going down is you are listening to reason, you are listening to logic, your rationality. When you are asking a question why, then you will get knowledge. But the moment you do not ask the question why and you accept for what it is, which is what is called the blind belief. The blind belief in terms of God is what which bothers me. I would like God, I think, is a super force. If you understand the origin, the cause and the effect of how to implement it, that is what the true believer in God is about. It is not about making gestures and noises. That is my whole
So
point.
then why don't you enlighten everybody about your understanding of the origin of God? And
See, that is not the whole point. I see, my question is not about enlightenment. That is not my job. My I reacted as a human being. Okay, I reacted as a person who has a certain thought process. I would love it if someone tells me what your thought is wrong because of this. Okay, after that, am I taking my life's mission to spread this? No, it is just a reaction to a certain event at that point of time. What happened, which came to me, and Twitter is nothing but voicing your thought at that time.
so in your own world, where does God stand, the force in whatever way you want, and where does Ram Gopal Varma stand, and what is the relationship between both of them?
See the point for me, to start with, I feel God does not care about you. It's in a line. If, for example, there is um I mean, whatever the force, let's call it God for convenience sake. Okay, I do not see a person going to a temple and praying to God and asking for whatever wish. That wish could be money, happiness, prosperity, or any other problem he has at that time. For him to think that God will do it for him, I think is being highly egoistic. I think a parallel I can say, that just because I voted for Narendra Modi, I am expecting him to do much more than what he probably does to the entire country as a whole. That he can singularly take me out as Ram Gopal Varma and give me some extra benefit if I am expecting that of Mr. Narendra Modi as a Prime Minister of country to do. I think it is as stupid as that, much more stupid, because God obviously has to look after even the creatures, the insects, the dogs and the animals apart from the human beings. Okay. So the point is, what is it that you are praying for? I voted to the Prime Minister and I am expecting him to do the job of what I or people others who have had the same trust. Okay. Or you are living your life under the laws of the country, doing your job or whatever. So me specifically going to the temple to pray to God, I do not think it matters either to God or it will matter to the guy who has gone to the temple. That is my basic point. So then what happens is, you are wasting so much of time and resources in an act which absolutely will not mean anything. Then for me to understand what is God about, God is about having a certain disciplinary element, and why this is wrong and this is a sin, because overall this is going to affect society, growth of society, or it will create anarchy, or it will create a certain negative mind state which would create certain damage in various ways. To understand that and to effectively design and promote it is the need of the day. Whereas what we do is the exact reverse in a typical Indian mentality, where we just kind of pray and chants and all that, and then that is it.
But the disciplinary aspect that you brought up obviously does not hold good, because we know of several criminals, terrorists who are very
Yeah,
God fearing.
yeah,
We know a lot of rowdy sheeters who are actually very God fearing.
correct,
They in fact offer lots of money into the
correct.
hundis. So how do you explain that? Is it
That
that
is precisely the point what I am trying to make. You see, that whatever the evil, so called evil doers are doing in the name of God, if you look at it, because you are just asking them to pray to God, you are completely not getting into the aspect of what was God about. See, if suppose I am saying what is the religion doing, for example in Tirupati I have heard whatever mistakes you do, whatever sins you commit, just before you die, if you just say Narayana once, all your sins will be washed away. Okay? Why would they do that? I will tell you why they do that, because if already I committed a sin out of my desire, out of my urge, out of my uncontrollable urge, or out of my whatever other compulsion, then I say anyway since I have committed a sin, what is the big deal, I will continue. Okay? It means like once you are branded that, what is the big point. But so now here what is happening, you are already being given a chance to do that. So before you die, if you take even a guy who has committed this much, still he turned to God, you can say that. Okay? So on constantly they are wanting the thrust on to believe in God, and it is never on why is God there. See, for example, okay, let me put it a parallel example. There is a red light and you stop at the red light, there is a green light, you go ahead. Okay? Now that is a rule. Now why do you stop at a red light is because they will find you, or the cops will catch you, or whatever will happen. Now if it comes just but because of that there will be discipline on the roads, the traffic will be in a smooth flow, everybody will get to go where they want, and you are following a certain rule and a regulation. There will be some people who will want to cut the red light out of their own reasons or whatever it is, but very rarely people will think the exact concept of what this whole thing is, because we are used to follow a regular pattern of discipline. See, the red light green light might be too simplistic in the example I am trying to give, but the moment why there is a law, why you are supposed to follow the law, if you are given this much of an understanding constantly, then your willingness to what you call cross the law or break it is going to be controlled. So when the rowdy sheeter you mentioned, the rowdy sheeter prays to God, but the rowdy sheeter,
haven't you seen that?
I have seen that.
Yeah.
Rowdy sheeter prays to God, why? Because he is just blindly believing in God. He thinks if I break a coconut, I give some pranam, I do this, and God is on my side. Why is God on his side? Because he is praying to God. But he is never being told the whole concept of God is the actual things what you are doing. You are doing something against God.
As
as what is creating violence, is creating pain, is going against an accepted form of life, and blah, blah, there are so many elements, and if that is accepted form of civil life and society is what God is trying to protect, that is where the God is invented in the first place. So God is not invented.
That itself is not working.
Yeah. So if instead of telling that, if you are only putting the thrust on praying to God is about the only, this is a very God fearing guy. What is God fearing guy? It is not about God fearing. You should be understanding the deeds you are doing wrong will be, God will become angry, God will punish you, God will do this, God will do that to you, and if the thrust is never on the deeds you are supposed to be doing, which is the reason the person who does the most foul deeds will be the biggest prayer to God, because he will think it will compensate for him. The fact no matter what I am doing, the fact that I am praying to God should take care of, because God will take care of the people who will pray to him is the mindset which is being developed. But the actual thing what should be done, God will be against the kind of deeds you are doing, and he is the guy who will see through it, even if the law cannot see it, or even if the regular people around you cannot see it.
This
God
is your
can see
interpretation.
it. No, that is what the need of the God is. God is a need, I am saying.
But there has
Otherwise,
to be a logical consequence as to how he will act on the need. I mean,
I see that already they told you. You will be either punished here
or later,
or in hell or whatever. That is something
but nobody
already
has
been
tested
given.
that.
Nobody knows, but I am saying whether we know it or not know it, that is what the so called scholars, the so called promoters of God, that is what
That is
they
the marketing
say.
you are saying.
Yeah, of course. See, the point is, why would somebody believe in God? From your childhood, say do this, just put your books near Ganpati and then he will impart you this, or do this to Shiva, do this to Balaji.
Don't you think we have
all
evolved
that,
in the way we pray to God and relate with God as a
yeah.
society? I do agree with
No, see the evolvement I think is to do with science and technology, nothing to do with God, because the more you understand a person who believes upon himself, his ability, his capability, is obviously going to go, and instead if you do not do anything and if you keep on going and pray in the temple, you will become nothing, which people are seen. Like once I said, if praying to God makes you more successful, then how come most of the pujaris are so poor? So obviously that does not work like that. So God is not asking anyone to pray to him, we are telling them,
We are
as
telling
human
people.
beings are telling that you just pray to God, you wish to pray to God, you pray to God. If you can't go on drilling and you are completely avoiding and not even getting into the topic of what is God and why you should pray to God and what does God see in you. So the fact that you are doing that as a motion, as just as a gesture, is enough, and by completely forgetting the main aspect of God is that what you are not supposed to do, if you do, God will catch you, God is watching you. That is not being promoted as much as the thrust on just do a physical gesture of praying to God.
So the need you are saying has been identified, but the front facing is wrong,
Yeah,
and hence something is fundamentally wrong
see,
in the way
like
we
I
approach God.
completely agree with the aspect. I mean, I forgot which particular philosopher said, if God is not there, it is necessary to invent one, because without that kind of a strong force which is all encompassing and much more than what a human being can create as a power, is needed to hold society together. But the implementation of that, or the educating the aspect of what God is about, I think that is going towards more a blind belief where misinterpretations can occur.
So in this context, would you call yourself a theist, atheist, or agnostic?
I mean, both of them I am not very sure. See, because see, to start with, I am just a normal. I mean, maybe I might little know about some filmmaking or little this and that, and so for me to even to be able to comment on a force which is such large as God, I think it's being stupid. You know. Now the point for me is, when the person, when a God does not really care about me, or does not care about, or I do not fall in the scheme of things, except for that it is created and there, and you live, you die in accident or whatever happens to you in the course of the life, is nothing to do with that force. Okay, as long as that is the truth, it almost becomes like a part of the atmosphere for me. I do not see much of a difference between there is a sun, there is a moon, and there is a earth which is rotating, there is an earthquake which comes, or there it rains, and then there is God. I do not see a fundamental
So
difference
you are just
between
one
them.
of the billions of species created
Yeah,
by that power.
yeah, they are
That is
all
how
the
you.
same because they are atmospheric, they do not have a direct bearing on me on a personal level. An earthquake happens, it happens in the course of that, and people will die, animals will die, insects will whatever happens, you know. So the creation of nature and a cycle it going along and is nothing related correlated to each of the species, you know, and neither the force existing like earthquake and the mosquito and the cockroach and the lion and the swan and Aishwarya Rai or a Bruce Lee or Amitabh Bachchan or all of them are created in the same breath. God will not see the difference. The differences are something we create.
Extremely, I do not even know how, whether to call it modesty or egolessness, or a certain form of state of having arrived, you know, into a space where you are comfortable. But so you do not have any inquisitiveness, curiosity to go and actually experience within yourself instead of intellectualizing the whole thing.
See that is the point. It's the whole point. See, first of all, your life is about a feeling. It's about an emotion you're going through. I mean, life itself is an emotion. What intellectualization does is it makes you relish the emotion more stronger. Okay, that is the reason I said in the course of this discussion somewhere, I believe in God, I respect God, I understand God probably much more than any of the guys who stand in lines, you know, because I understand the cause, the origin, the effect, and also the necessity more than anyone. Okay. So like when I told someone, see, I think if you see the space, for example, the galaxy, I mean the overall concept and the theory of relativity, you know, to the whole universe as a thing of its looks spectacular in terms of its beauty, its splendor, its design, and then I see a temple, I see a picture of a god or something. I said, I do not know if the same art director has done both this. The aesthetic sense for me, this looks very tacky and basic as created by humans, whereas Interstellar it looks like something one cannot dream of, one cannot even understand, or like how the sun is or how the whole planetary system is. Okay. Now then there are different religions, all different religions have different kind of idols or shapes, and in our society, in our kind of a thing in Hinduism, I must have seen some 700 versions of Ganpati, the way each person interprets it. So whether they should interpret or not, I think is a separate question altogether. But the bottom line for me, it is a thought. God is an unseen force, it is a thought somewhere. I do not want to see stories associated to him, what he did to his kid and his wife and all that. It is like a force which created the entire universe, and it is, and the very fact that we are existing, we are living in cities and there is a country and there is a society and we are going through so many feelings. If all this is being caused, even if it is created by human minds, and the minds are again being created by a certain force of nature, if that is God, to respect it, to understand it, so that we can implement it and execute and apply it better, that is what I am saying.
In most of your statements earlier and in most of your interviews, you have always spoken about Hindu religion particularly, because most of the references you keep bringing up are from whether it is karma, Ganesha, Ganapati.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of the other religions, or they are inconsequential to you, or
I would not say that. See, the point is, one, definitely I know lesser, but the point is not about me knowing also. For example, you take Islam, I do not know much about Islam. I like the concept of not seeing God. I like that there is just a wall. I mean, it is just, it is, I do not know what to make of that, and I think in a way for me, see, I am not suddenly getting into an argument of idoless or formlessness, but as a concept for me, the force of God is so huge and the concept of God is so huge, no image will satisfy me.
In fact, it is blasphemic in Islam from what we know.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be knowing the details, but for me, I am just as an observer, because I am not a Muslim, I am an outsider. I am saying for me that, or I am saying in terms of an architectural thing, like a church or a kind of a thing, or the choirs and the dignity with which it is seen in a, I find that absent many times in our religion. Okay, in spite of me being Hindu, right? What I am trying to say, I just hate the sight of pujaris eating pan in the temple. I hate the sight of just people showing inside and that. There is a certain lack of dignity I find, and I think that is being highly disrespectful to God and what God stands for. So my problem is with the devotees, not the God. I mean, in one way of looking at it, in the packaging of God I have a problem.
As far
I am
as
not going against the
Hindu
force
gods go.
of God. Yeah.
I mean, in fact, you also have the characterization.
But to be honest, I do not know on a first hand level how that other things happen. Just on a prima facie, where I am seeing it from far, I feel there is more dignity in there.
Other religions,
yeah,
compared to Hinduism.
The dignity in packaging. I am not talking about the God as such, how they just project it, or
So would you, in a dialogue, all those people who had registered cases on you for your tweets on Hindu gods, would you have the interest or inclination to sit across at a table and reason out with them and convince them?
See, first of all, I think in today's time of technology, no one needs to sit across a table. There is a phone, there is a cell phone, there is something you want to say on the Twitter, and to do that, and we are all expressing opinions. Yes, my opinions could be wrong. I would like to be corrected. I would love to be corrected and be given knowledge otherwise. I am not saying my word is the final. I am not saying that. As a person, if I am subjected to certain things, if I did not understand something, I think I have a right to wonder about it, to ask a question about it, and to make a comment on it, and which is what everyone does. Even the people who believe in God do the same.
Have you ever visited a temple?
Yeah, I did.
And this is all that drew your attention, pujaris eating pan and various other things that have gone wrong.
Yes.
But nothing else has, the energy of the magnifications of various.
No, I did not feel that. I don't see that. That's my whole point. What I am trying to say, God as a force for me is like space. If anything which created the space, for me it's like that is God. I mean, what something should have caused. Is it a human form, or is it some form, or is it no form, or is it whatever it is that is beyond my comprehension, to be fair, okay, to be frank. but yes, if something caused it, that is God, I am accepting that. The fact that I exist, you exist, all this exists, it is coming from somewhere, that is God, let us say, let us put it that way. Okay?
Thank God.
Yeah, but then you are trying to contain him and then create stories around him, and then
That's what bothers
you are
you.
putting all these kind of people around him, pan eating guys. I have a problem with that. So I think God needs much more respect and a better kind of a platform to, and that has to be also in the minds of the devotees more than anything else. It is not so much in the in the people of the so called religious leaders. The understanding will come from the devotee more than anything else.
So,
That is when you need to question yourself, what do I mean by I believe in God? I mean, you have to question yourself to that. First of all, you have to define it, what do you understand by God. For example, I will give an example. There is a certain actor in Telugu industry, okay. I asked him this question, he keeps on talking about Sai Baba, Sai Shirdi Baba's blessings and this, and I asked him one day, like in Telugu, let us say there is a top star of the top star by definition, he has got a huge market, he has some 70 crore recovery. Then another guy only has 5 crore recovery, another actor I am saying. Who will you make a film between the two if you have a choice to make it with either of them? And he said, of course, the top star. Then I asked him this question, then the most powerful country in the whole world is America, financially, economic, I mean military wise, in every which way, and they pray to Jesus. So under that kind of a definition, if Jesus is a bigger star than Balaji or Sai Baba, then why are you praying to Sai Baba? That man does not have an answer. My problem is that my question is valid or not, even I do not know. I am sure there will be someone who will be able to answer me, but my point is this man is living for the first 40 years only talking about Sai Baba and is tongue tied, which means as a devotee he failed for me.
but
I would like him to answer, that is me, I will get a sense of happiness because of Sai Baba.
it is the access you feel towards a certain form. For example, you may be the biggest director in
No,
India, but there may be other smaller directors
you are answering me. My problem is him, not my question. That is what I am trying to clarify. A man for 40 years is only talking about Sai Baba, and me asking one question confused him. That is not to say my question is valid. My question I also can answer. I just not was answering that question. So my point is the devotee himself, where he is completely lost in it, has no idea what he is doing. That is what I am calling.
So here
I have a problem with blind belief.
If
I was him, I would answer, I could just be in love with this one girl who might not be the Miss World, okay.
But she has done something
gives me,
to you.
that is exactly what I am saying.
Yeah.
She is doing something to me. So it is in a space I created in my world, me, him and her. So that is the right answer to give with Sai Baba. But a man for 40 years, day in and day, which means he is just doing, he is just kind of saying things without even understanding what he is doing. That is my problem. Problem is not about Sai Baba or Jesus.
Okay. So you would like people to be, rather, it is not like you would like, but this is what you expected when, or you expect all bhaktas to do.
In other words, what I am trying to say, person who is wasting so much time, effort and energy has no clue about what he is doing, which is what comes under the definition of blind belief. What is blind belief? Blind belief is nothing but you are not questioning, because by questioning you are only going to enjoy, relish it and cleanse yourself more. But by blind belief what happens is you are just like like one more person, one actress I know who is heavily into Jesus, okay. She converted to Christianity and now she is into Jesus. So and she was telling me about Jesus and all this, and I asked her, what if you die someday and you go up there, and what if there is only Allah? I said, it is a hypothetical question. No, I do not know who is there up there, I have no idea. Maybe there are all the gods are there with different heavens, or only some gods are there, or nobody is there. But she got startled because she never thought in that line, you know. So the point is, one is you are taking a decision, you are taking a decision to get into some business.
So
I am taking a decision to make some kind of film.
What would you expect her to do?
See, that is what I am saying. That see, the point is, when you are believing in something, whatever it is, that is, it is your duty to question yourself to understand what is it that you are believing, why is it that you are believing, and what will be the effects of it, the cause of it, and what are the pros and cons to make a a very thought about decision. But by blindly doing it is you are constantly floating in the air without any direction or any kind of a specific path, and that will actually create more misery. So on the other hand, one more thing it does is you are leaving it to God, saying Bhagavan dekh lega, God will look after it. But do they really believe? They won't. Till today I have not met a person when he has some problem, and if I ask him, so what has happened to that problem, he would say, yeah, it is okay because I met some Malhotra and he is going to take care of it. I never saw anybody saying that, okay, I went to Shirdi, he will take care of it, because no one really believes God will take care of any problem, but they will
disagree
keep
there.
asking God.
There are people who have had stories of faith and miracles.
Faith, no, that is what I am saying. See, faith and miracles are in stories and they will attribute it after the matter, after the fact. So in other words, what I am saying, you will go to a person or a system or something to cause a problem, to solve a problem, and once the problem is solved you will attribute it to God. But you will not stop at just going to the temple and breaking a coconut, that you know that is for sure is not going to cause a problem.
No, if you are
you will believe that God has made them solve the problem.
Here is the question I am rephrasing on behalf of all the devotees here, not that it is personal here, but it is not like God will come and personally airlift you with his own hands, 10 hands when you are drowning. But by going to a temple and praying, the deal there is that he will facilitate a boat or somebody else to airlift you. So help can come, God can come in whatever form. It does not mean that the devotees do not wear their life vests or whatever when they are drowning. So
see,
how do we
I think it's a very juvenile argument. To start with, one is like, I think it also negates many points I was trying to say. The fact that is what the belief in which you are trying to promote into the devotee. If you come to God, you pray and you do this archana, you do that kind of a one special kind of a puja, you will get that much more addition, but that is an industry by itself in a sense of the word. So which means if the guy who prays the most or does the most complicated, most expensive kind of pujas, will he get more benefit, is the kind of a thing if you are promoting through the whole system of God, then that itself by definition defeats the purpose of why you should pray to God, is the point I was trying to make before.
That is need based, right?
No, I need based, but let me finish. Now here what you are saying, here what I am trying to say, you are trying to create solve it on a practical level, to go to somebody or do this, do that, do this, and once that is over you will say, God help me. So God through them helped is what you would like to believe, because human beings will never want to give credit to fellow human being. It is not that they do not want to, but eventually they will want to push it to God. God is with us, God is with everybody. I hear a terrorist saying God is with us, I hear the security like Osama bin Laden says God is with us, George Bush also says God is with us. So then are they two separate gods? Is it because of that we are saying that, or God is actually universal? So some part of universe is created by Jesus, another part is created by Balaji. So what is happening, But so each and every human being, irrespective of his religion or anything, he believes in God, his own God. Okay. Then on one hand all of them believe that God is only one, it can't be two. So which means as many difference of opinions we have about everything, we have a different opinion about God also. And in this whole kind of a circle, the basic thing what one is forgetting to put thrust on is what was the God's necessity in the first place for, in terms of to introspect and to understand what is the thoughts which is coming into you, what is the deeds you are doing, how it is harming you or your immediate people or the society or just the world as a whole. If you take the thrust out from there and only concentrating on these things which actually amount to nothing, in fact which cause more harm.
While we understand from where you are coming, do not you think it is impossible for the whole, God is a very personal experience first of all. So how each one is relating in their own hearts and brains, themselves may not have clarity, let alone trying to explain to you or me. But it is not a homogeneous society, people have different levels of evolution within themselves. So how do we do you think that there is a scope that
see the point is not about digging a scope or anything. I feel the question is, you are creating a disciplinary kind of a system in life. That is for me what is God is, whether you call it Balaji, Jesus or
true
Allah or X or Y, I do not think that is the point. The point is, you are looking at a force which has created you and facilitated you that you have come in your life so far. Today you are sitting here and talking. There is a society, there is a city, there is colleges, there is educational systems, blah blah, all that is happening. All this has been originated from certain thought, and various minds created, various things happened, we reached here. So which means there is some kind of a thing operating somewhere. Whether you want to call that God whichever name, that is up to you. You can create your own God for yourself. Even two people might not believe in your God, but still it works for me. When does it work for me is when you understand what is it about,
what the other person is or the other form is doing to you.
What is the disciplinary system, the fact that there is a superior force, there is a force which for some reason created something which is beyond your comprehension, such a mega aspect of everything in life. And if that force is what from your understanding, why is it that you have to listen to it, why is it that you have to abide by what you think
of that force,
the necessity of that force is, that is what for me a true devotee of a God. So what you call him by which name is irrelevant after that, and the fact that you go to a temple and do something to that, the fact that the God will look after you specially, you should kill that ego in yourself.
Of course we are going to wind up now because we have spoken at length, but before we wind up I would like to make one comment that that is where gurus and babas have evolved, in that space of what you just said.
Gurus and babas, I mean I can't be generalizing all of them, but I think they also, their existence is in being vague. They would never ever pinpoint a certain structure to what exactly God is about. When you call it a spiritual aspect or this your soul and all that, I mean at least I have not ever
they
heard
become the overpowering force that a static and a story God has not been able to fill.
Most of them I believe they will just kind of put the mental state of the people where they would understand nothing. I have seen so many devotees of Babas, and ask them a question, what does the Baba exactly say? I do not think they can speak for 2 minutes even if they attend for days their sermons.
So your whole point from our discussion seems like you can pray to the camera, you can pray to a stone, you can pray to any form, any
pray,
man,
I am saying you believe,
relate with it.
See, that is what my point is, not about pray. You should have in your heart the understanding of what God is about for yourself, irrespective of the religion, irrespective of which God it is. You can call it anything you wish, you can give a name to the God for yourself, that is what my whole point. Praying as a physical gesture means nothing if you do not have it in your heart about the understanding of what God is.
That is your whole point
about
point. God.
Yeah.
And would you like to share anything else, speak to the devotees who are watching today?
I do not think devotees listen, so there is no point. I am speaking for myself myself, and if you
on a more lighter note, I am compelled to ask you, is God male or female in your world?
See, I think male female aspect for me is like a very gender thing, just because I mean we are kind of differentiating it for the physiological functions. Otherwise at the end of it is a mind. So creation or anything will come from at least our understanding from a mind. So whether it is a female or a male is irrelevant. Female or a male for me is more sexual. How does it make a difference? Because the thought is coming from a mind which is irrespective of the gender. So
beyond the function everything is the same.
Yeah.
Well said. God will bless you today. Thank you, Mr. Ram Gopal Varma. That was Ramuism today. We will meet again with another conversation.